Hello, everybody, and welcome to Streaming Rainbow. My name is Bastion, and I am joined here today with an incredible cast of characters that helped bring the playground to life, and that were trusting enough to let me take them on this harrowing journey. I'll go ahead and let you all introduce yourselves here real quick.
My name's David. Oh, sorry.
Go, David.
We'll cut it so it looks real smooth. It'll be fine.
My name's David. Streaming Rainbow founder. Bastion's second favorite player. And someone who is rethinking how much forethought they put into characters so that they don't accidentally end up self-inserting and emotionally wrecking themselves for a couple weeks.
Hey everybody, I'm Eli, also Streaming Rainbow founder, and I have no regrets whatsoever. That was an amazing game, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Hi, I'm Mads. I'm just Mads. I'm just here. I'm happy to be here. Just like Joey. And yeah, I have no regrets at all. I'm just vibing.
Yeah, what a game. I tend to go pretty dark with my games, but I think that this one was an interesting mix of like a darker setting than I usually do, but I would say it was actually kind of lighter on the horror themes and the actual gameplay itself, which was not a contrast I was expecting going into it. But it was fun. We have a couple of questions from our audience, and I want to make sure that we have time to get to those, so we'll start with those. And starting off, Julia and David actually asked the same question of me, which was, what is my main inspiration for the world? I will link the video either in the description or after this video, or both, but there's a specific video called Playground that an animator put together that was so incredibly evocative to me. Watching it immediately spawned a million ideas. You know, that those like creative like zeitgeist moments where you see something at the right time and it's just, you're overwhelmed with things you want to do with that concept. That was this video for me, Playground, and it was just this creepy mix of horrifying, like really imaginative creatures and like really cool, like whimsical moments, and all of it jam-packed into like 2.5, I think, minutes. And I have been living off of that creative high for years. Waiting for this game, but pulling in a lot of those ideas and a lot of that imagery into some of my other games as well. So that was my main inspiration, was this one video. From there, pulling in ideas from general just like horror pacing and workshops and things like that. I took a horror writing workshop at the local library right before this that was a really cool exploration of horror writing in terms of like tropes and twists and how it handles the general arc that I pulled on a lot as well. So those are kind of the two places that I pulled from for this story in particular. But Jules, for our players, asked, did you all have backup characters ready to go ahead of time, or was that a surprise?
Yeah, aggressively no. I immediately had to scramble. I said, am I just done? Am I gonna go? Hey Bastion, can I still play?
I am somebody who adores character creation and just tend to have like 5 billion characters just at the ready in my head. They're just sitting cooking there. I could probably list 3 different ones I have in my head right now for other games. But I definitely didn't expect to have to use any of them. So that was definitely a surprise to have to use another character. But when I go into, also maybe just because Bastion's been my DM forever, I tend to go in a little prepared sometimes, just knowing that this could happen. This could happen. Oh.
Just removing me.
That was me. I misclicked. I'm a monster. I'm sorry. I'm a mess.
They're just gonna see me go. Oh,
Oh, yeah. We'll leave all of
that's
this
gonna be a
in.
horrible edit for you. I'm so sorry.
This is gonna go in completely unedited. It's fine. We're gonna have this background. David's gonna have half bore and his spy line. It's gonna be chill.
Wait, who's Halfthor? When did he play Halfthor? That was actually David's backup character.
That was my backup character.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I was gonna do that, the worst player thing in the world, and be like, can I ported my player from a different game and a different system? It's kind of a legendary hammer, and he's a level 20 assassin, and with special permission from my previous GM that I know you will respect, as all DMs do.
Oh, I am immediately angry with you for that.
That's a skill I have, actually. I put it on my CV a lot.
Yeah, I can make you immediately angry.
Instigator.
Yeah. Let's talk about the TPK. What a moment. Our first, I think, recorded TPK for streaming Rainbow. What did you guys think coming out of it?
I am one who personally I don't get upset. Is like, I was gonna say I don't get upset when one of my characters die. And it's not because I don't care, it's all these things, but like, especially, it was beautiful. Like, it was a really beautiful story, and there is something inherently devastating about child warriors. So having them then die is also, like, for me, that was like, yeah, this is what happens when you make children do adult things. They just fucking die. So that felt very earned for me. And the way Kate went, especially with how it started between her and Joey, with Joey being just a little bit scared of her, and being like, I'm scared to talk to Kate, and Kate just being like, the fuck is wrong with you? And then Kate being like, no, he will not die alone on that field. Like, I'm not letting him get picked apart by bats. So that felt like some really good, it came back around, and I really liked it. So
yeah, I'm never someone also who gets mad when one of my characters like die. Like, I was fully sobbing. Like, everyone will see that, everyone saw it. They saw it. But I was sobbing because of the like storytelling and the emotions I connect to with what was happening in the actual like storytelling aspect, versus it being like, oh, my character's gone, So I feel really similar to Eli in that way, where it was a beautiful like story, and that made it like worth it as well, and made it feel like, okay, this would make sense. It also just made sense. I personally love it when like there's stories where main characters die, because I feel like it's a thing that doesn't always happen. Like, you'll be able to guess. That's my one least favorite thing in like stories. Like, well, they've introduced this main character, so they're not gonna die. And I really think that I love seeing that in different sources of media, because it makes the stakes feel higher.
Yeah, I think the TPK, to peel back the curtain here, which I guess is the purpose of this whole episode, was entirely unintended, by the way. That was not that wasn't planned. It wasn't like, this is a hopeless fight and this is how we're going to get to the next part. But the dice told a story, and I felt the need to respect that. But I think even more importantly, the players told a story. Like, the three of you made that such a beautiful sequence that it would feel disrespectful, honestly, to Deus Ex Machina bring the characters back. I sat on it a while. So we recorded this in 2 sessions, essentially. Record the first 2 episodes back to back, and then the last 3 back to back to back. And so after that TPK, I had to sit and figure out what I wanted to do with the story. I essentially had to write out a new story from that moment to tie in everything that happened, and weave it into some of the story beats that I had previously started to conceptualize. So it was a pretty big twist for me as a DM, and required a lot of thoughtfulness on sort of, okay, who do we let live? Do we let any of them live? It took me, I think, a week before I came back and like, okay, Eli, Mads, sorry, but you're going to have to make some new characters for our next session.
What, you didn't count on Joey jumping off of the top of a building with a giant sucker and fucking around and finding out? I don't know why that.
I think it was really cool because it felt like there was I think there was one. I think we were shooting the first time we were shooting the cannons. It was like 3 of them exploded. It was an incredible like, oh fuck, like how are we gonna get out of this? That was the first moment. That was like the second turn or something like that. I was like, fucking shit. And then I think like one of it was a really cool TPK, probably one of my favorites. And I think like Mads touched on something a second there where it's like, you don't, I do sometimes get upset at TPKs when DMs aren't able to make the death feel impactful and do make it feel like some sort of weird punishment or make it feel like a railroady type thing of and it's like, okay, at least give me some like, you know, spit on it first, you know? And so sorry, Rainbow After Dark. Check out that channel.
Crazy.
So
Welcome to this End of Rainbow about a game we played as children.
It's fine. We're good.
But
They grew up now. We're
yeah. But no, it was incredibly cool in the moment because it was you know what, an hour and a half-ish in of gameplay. I was like, this is a TPK and it doesn't feel cheap. And that was incredible. We were able to do something like, not to get too like crunchy a little bit right into storytelling stuff, but there's like, it's called like time compression, right? And it's this idea of like going into a moment and then like flashing back into like a full day, and then you start right back up at that moment, right? And it's a way to like pack in a lot of exposition, and the story only takes over. Like Ulysses is the one of the most famous examples of an entire novel that takes place in a single day, right? And in that way, we did a little bit of that, right, with a lot of the like callbacks and flashbacks to different things, and it was a way to show, in like with very little, right, what little exposition we were able to give on our turns, essentially, we were able to build these like really tight connections and reasons that people respected and admired, and there was affection there, right? Warts and all, right? And so that was like, bravo to the table and Bastion for doing that, being able to lead us that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was actually going to touch on that as well. Like an hour and a half, 2 hours into playing, yeah, we hit that moment, but you had all done so much work to make these characters, make these deaths feel impactful. I came into this season with a second secret goal. This season was an experiment on shorter episodes. I wanted to see how short could we make an actual play and have it still be meaningful, still be interesting to watch, things like that. Part of it for like straight up gaming the YouTube analytics and watch time percentage, but part of it also because that's the form of content that I prefer. I actually don't really enjoy sitting and watching long actual plays. Like, I have an hour, hour and a half, and then I'm done. I got to go do something else. And it's part of the reason I've never gotten into Critical Role with their 4-hour episode, 6-hour like epic. So I wanted to go really far on the other direction. I was really worried that things wouldn't be as impactful. We wouldn't be able to tell as much. And we didn't get to tell as much, obviously, as if we'd had twice the time. But I think it's absolutely a credit to the players that we were able to get that level of impact and connection to the characters. And I think that was really beautiful.
Yeah, not to pitch the channel too hard, but to like and subscribe, join the Discord. But that's like one of the coolest things about streaming Rainbow is we all have such different styles and goals and things we're aiming at that every project that I'm a part of, and even the ones I just get to see the sort of the production behind the scenes parts, I learn so much from you guys. And it like, this is, coming from a literary background, this campaign and each episode in of itself have the feel of like a short story, and that's so cool, right? It was fully like drop in a moment, not too much background, not too much exposition, but enough to get you connected, emphasis in action, but not a real resolution, right? Some steps towards, like some enough, but I love stories like that, and you did something so beautiful in the way of who knows what happens and they walk out, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Shout out Streaming Rainbow.
Shout out. Get in the Discord. So, question from one of the players here, Eli. There was more of a statement to expound on, but the talking about going with child protagonists, that was hard in a lot of ways. I think I felt like, to do the playground justice, it had to be children. I think if you throw adults into that world, if you throw even like teenagers into that world, it's a very different story. And a big part of the balance in this world, for me, the only thing that balances against these like horrifying nightmares is that childlike wonder. And that's part of what going across the monkey bars is that losing that childlike wonder and going to that, like, the fort, right? This big, and we didn't really get to visit or hear much about the fort, but it's this boxy structure. It's much more like survivalist.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
brutalist.
it's like, it's such an interesting symbolism of, right, losing that childlike wonder. The playground is something built for fun and recreation, and the fort is a utility building for defense, right? That's really cool.
Yeah. So I felt like I had to go with children for this concept, but you have to have a very particular set of players, and you have to treat that with respect. It's hard to role play children for many, many reasons. They have mental development of very different places, right? A 10-year-old doesn't think about the future. They don't think about the effects of what they're doing in a week or in a day, right? They're just acting essentially on impulse, right? They haven't built literally that brain part, right? Their motor skills aren't there, things like that. And to try and get into that headspace is hard. And then to do that in a horror game where you risk death, injury, maiming in a place where so many lines and veils are harm against children, how do you treat that with respect? And I tried to lean on a lot of media that already does this, right? Every horror anime ever, basically, is like horror with children. You look at a lot of Stephen King novels, horror with children, things like that, and
that's not the person I'd take notes from, though.
Fair, but it's
sorry.
It's like
If
treating
you know,
them
you know.
treating them like real people with the understanding that they're not adults. They don't have that, like, the same capabilities and understanding and things like that. It was hard, but I think overall it was worth it. I think it's a sometimes food. I don't know if I'm going to run a kids game again, because it's hard, and it does feel a little icky when you're done with it and you're like, I feel like I just murdered a bunch of children. That that doesn't feel great. But it was necessary for the story we wanted to tell. But to flip it to the players, what was it like playing children?
This was okay. So this is partially why, like, a really big reason why I did what Joey did, in that of like, I'm gonna pilot a bat, because just what you were saying, Bastion, where like a child's not thinking through the executive functioning of, hey, this probably won't be the best scenario. I'm not gonna chess piece this out. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna see, that looks cool. That might save my friends. I'm gonna go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And working with kids, actually, I was taking a lot of my day job is I work with children as a speech therapist, and adults too. But when I'm working with children, like, seeing that, I was thinking about like what some of the younger, like, little boys that I work with maybe would have done, and which is kind of a weird thing to think about, but at the same time is like, okay, they definitely are just gonna go right for it, no fear, none at all. And so I definitely was changing the way I played, and the decisions I make. So even though I am kind of like a mess it up player, I like to do like the kind of crazy idea. If my character was, say, an adult, don't know if I would have done it. I would be like, well, I don't really have the skills for that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a different wild thing. But Joey, he doesn't know animals, but he's going to try and pilot that bat because he's a kid. He hasn't thought that through. All he thinks is like, I want to do the thing and help my friends. And then some same things with Alistair, of like, not of trying to find his confidence and find who he is. A kid, even sometimes kids are selfish. They're not going to help you if it's not going to help them. You know, that was like his whole main deal until he was forced to, because it became suddenly personal. That's kind of like a huge coming of age moment for so many people, and we think it's bad. Like, yes, we all should be selfless people, but ultimately sometimes you have to make it personal to care about it. And for Alistair, that was a big thing of him realizing, oh wait, the world doesn't revolve around me, and there's people around trying to do some stuff, so I need to change my mindset. And so yeah, I really played differently because I was trying to get in the headspace of children.
Yeah. I'm curious what David's going to say, because David and I are parents. I mean, I'm a step parent. David's a father. But like, so for me, I have spent the last however many years with these kids in my life. I've always been a caretaker and things like that, but looking at, like, really getting an in-depth look at the fact of how much of a person a kid is, and how many adults treat children like they're idiots, or like they don't have full autonomy, like they don't know anything, when nothing could be further from the truth. Especially as you get into the older kids. So that was an interesting, like, so it was, I brought that viewpoint into how I played it, but I also brought in other aspects. Like, so for Kate, I mean, Kate was an abused kid, and therefore had a level of maturity based off of trauma and self-reliance. But it wasn't a good maturity either. Like, she still made a choice that was fully focused, because all she could think was, well, self-reliance, all I can worry about is me. I can't worry about that idiot who just jumped off a parapet. Like, I don't know, like, I can't fix that. I have my goal. I have the witch's head. Why would I ever let go of that? Like, that can't be my problem. And then with Everly was the eldest of a ton of cousins. So she was already, she was a parent in the playground, but she's also, like, you know, she was a parent in the real world too, of like the caretaker and all these things. but kind of didn't want to be. So she had that like black cat energy of like, I mean, listen, I'll hug you when I'm good and ready. So like, but I'm here to comfort, I guess. But like, so yeah, it's that was my thing of like, hey, like these are kids, but we don't treat them like they're idiots because they're fully autonomous people. So yeah.
Speaking of black cat energy, this menace.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I am very much in the vein right now um, of doing things uncomfy. I uh, I have like personal experience with child harm that is sometimes very difficult, specifically like around abuse. Um, and for me, it's not something where I get like there are very specific things where I'll have like a physiological response, like a real like this is a true X card. But as for me as a player, in like one of my, I think you always have to have like goals, particularly as someone is like trying to be a performer in the space. Even like I think you have to like constantly push yourself, right? And so for me right now, one of the things I'm trying to work on is the idea of like what's a true red card is it, to me, right? And like as like what is a space I'm willing to explore with a level of vulnerability and a level of comfort, right? That should be proportional. And so for me, it's the idea of like I want to put my red cards as like real red cards. Like I cannot do this because I trust Bastion and because I trust Eli. And the vibes were immaculate in session 0 with Mads, and I saw them play right in the last stop. So I knew the kind of thing they were willing to put on the table and put out there. And so it was in this space, right? If I was playing at a local games, like if I signed up on Facebook or something, or Blue Sky, found some group, like, you know, whatever local group. Is this a game I'm willing to walk into and play? No. Like, absolute hardcore no, right? But the idea of pushing, so I think similarly to Eli, right, it was something that was really hard, but it was the kind of thing that I was glad to do in the way of feeling the uncomfy, because sometimes it's those pieces of art that have like the best impact, right? It's the things that really like there's a reason moralistic tales, right? Like I think there's a reason millennials are so well equipped for all these financial collapses, and it's watching, you know, The Fox and the Hound and like Old Yeller and like I swear like there's this really funny meme that's like 80s and 90s like children's executives fucking hated children. There's no like every brainstorming session, every like quarterly meeting is like, all right, how are we going to traumatize them next?
100%. 100%.
I mean, even like some of the most beloved, right? Like I gave some pretty deep cuts, but like Lion King. Lion King is devastating. Like I wasn't the first time, but it was like maybe the second or third time when he was a little bit older. When my youngest saw Lion King, it was a nightmare in this house.
Yeah.
It was a full like triage. But yeah, and then as far as like how I played it, I think for me it was like a weird line to walk because I was like, okay, who's the kid that's like overconfident and like overthinks things? And like there was a moment where I was trying to go like with my first instinct as opposed to like that follow up analysis. Even though like his first instinct is analyze and do, right? And then as an adult you learn like, okay, then now you reanalyze or you have somebody else take a look if you're too close or like that kind of thing, right? But there was, if you notice, there's like kind of no collaboration. There was kind of no like whatever. It was like Ryan feels and moves and does and does. And that was like, there was one particular role of like, I knew as the player optimizing, like they're going to die if I say this. But I was like, as the 12-year-old, I think I like, you're desperate, you're panicked. That was my first instinct. So I got to run with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, our final audience question, aside from Gab's "How dare you," Mads was curious if y'all had fought the moth, what were the moth's fighting abilities? So
So curious.
I'm gonna pivot this a little bit and talk about why I went with the moth. And I will tell you all the fighting abilities. Don't worry. But our first immediate antagonist is this loud, blaring, dangerous, obvious, in your face witch's head with this swarm of bats. It was violent, it was aggressive, it was immediate, primal sort of fear that we had in that moment. And I wanted everything to feel hectic. I wanted it to feel aggressive. I wanted it to feel bloody and horrifying in that way. And as we transitioned to Act 2, I wanted to transition to a different type of horror, right? That creeping horror, that uncertainty, that monster under your bed, that thing that lives just at the corner of your eye, right? That sometimes mom looks a little bit different when I come down in the middle of the night and she's other mother type of vibes. I wanted to have that like immediate sharp contrast between our two main antagonists in this series. So the moth is meant to be that sort of quieter, more contemplative, more, I guess, evolved kind of fear for a lot of reasons, right? We had older kids that were dealing with this, so it was a more complex fear that they were dealing with. It was mixed in, it was muddy, right? It wasn't immediately obvious, and the solution wasn't immediately obvious either. It was something they had to think through, work through. They couldn't get through it alone. They needed help. They needed to work together, things like that. So that's why I went with the moth and built the moth to be more of that sort of creeping horror type of threat and less of that immediate aggressive threat. So if the team had decided to fight the moth did have several sort of mechanics that I had started to cook up, but the main idea was that the moth didn't directly fight. Like the moth, it's made of paper. If you could get a hit on it, it would go down. Like, it's not a creature that has a ton of health. It's not like the witch's head that took several rounds, several kids, cannons, things like that. But that it would be difficult to get to, right? It controls these caves entirely. It controls these toys and these memories and these relics, right? And that if you got aggressive with it, it's not fighting the moth itself, it's that you'd have to get to the moth, right? It's how do you deal with these shifting hallways? How do you keep up with it? How do you make sure it doesn't disappear? How do you chase it when it flies up? And then how do you do all of that when you're being under attack by a dozen Beanie Babies and a wooden train set that is growing as it places down its tracks in front of it, right? So that would have been more of the fight. It would have been more of like a chase sequence, like trying to get to the thing with a really, really sad moment as you killed it, as you killed this dream, this hope for peace, right? And decided essentially, symbolically, that it's not achievable.
Turns out the way to win that is by rolling four tens in succession on a luck roll.
Right.
Wild.
That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do on different die. That was the weirdest part.
Yeah.
I've never rolled as well, and I will never roll that well again.
That was insane. That was supposed to be, that rhyme trickled out to y'all through the next like 3 episodes as you like pieced it together and things like that. Yeah. And Eli's like, nah, give it to me, fam.
Yeah.
Right.
There are cryptids in this house. We are a cryptid loving household. So, it's very apropos for me to know everything about the moth. So I loved it.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was more loudly remarking that it was a incredible monster design.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. it like it's funny because I'm always like, oh man, it would have been cool to do like both sides of the story of like, because it just sounds so much fun to do a whole chase sequence. I love how the story turned out and love the way we took it and like the choices we made and things like that and the roles we did. But thanks for giving some insight about what was the abilities of the moth, because I loved that character. I loved that creature. I'm obsessed with things that are scary that actually are two-sided coins. Obsessed with that shit. And so I was thinking about this moth character, like what's gonna happen to him for like weeks after weeks.
Yeah. So, question for y'all. I have some questions of my own that I'm interested in this, like, reminiscing. What moments in the story genuinely creeped y'all out or made you feel uneasy? Or were there any?
The first time that you said the lullaby, I was pretty like, fuck. And again, it's because it's the kind of thing of a little bit of a meta knowledge, right? But it's like, I have played with Bastion now for a while, discussed these ideas, right? A lot of like future things and just different other like potential ideas, and knowing a lot of the content he consumes, I was like, this could truly be anything. Like it could be something. I'll be very honest. Like there was a small part that was like, it could be some like weird trick sentimental monster because it had this thing of the lullaby, right? Or like, or this thing we're gonna break through and it's just gonna like consume us. It's gonna be like some eldritch style, like suck you in, suck all the hope out of you kind of thing. And so that was really, and it was just your execution, your line delivery, your singing, was all added to it.
You all did end by going into the moth, so who's to say where you actually wound up?
Fair enough. Some real bastard Inception shit there.
I think the part that nothing really creeped me out, which I'm like, I have a hard time getting creeped out, but the thing that really unnerved me and really unsettled me was when the fissure started opening and the playground started sinking, because as Kate and as an adult, like I was like, an adult would be sitting there going like, how do I fix a building? Like that's unfixable. Like that's horrifying. So that part, like, again, was super unsettling and super like, really like had a real feeling of hopelessness. And then, which then led into how that episode ended. So yeah, that part got me. That was a pretty solid, like, oh fuck moment.
Yeah. The tone that shifted for me was when the bat like tackled a kid and pushed him into the playground, and I was like, that's supposed to be the safe place. That was the unnerving part for me, and set the tone for the rest. And then obviously just the whispering of the moth, how it spoke. That was a little creepy for me. But
yeah. All right, here's a fun one. It's gonna be real fun. If you could send a message to your characters, knowing what would happen day one, the moment that this whole show started, what message would you send them?
Hey Joey, you're gonna wanna go right at bat. Let me just tell you, you're not gonna want to do that. I'm kidding. I think that, well, in all seriousness, I do think that I think I would. I don't think I would give them a message.
I would.
I don't think I would, because the thing is,
I would give Joey a message.
What do you say?
I would give Joey the message. I'd be like, my guy.
No, because I don't think Joey would have listened.
Not.
Oh, you? Okay,
I would.
cool.
I mean, like, I have things to say to both my characters, but no,
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, I don't think Joey would have listened. And I don't know if then Alistair would have done what he did had he not observed what happened with Joey and Kate. So, like, I don't think I would have given them a message, because I feel like that's, like, I don't know. I don't think that it changes the story too much for me, you know, of
Yeah.
like what maybe I would have just said is that, you know, Joey, you're gonna do something really stupid, and Alistair, you're gonna do something for someone else for once in your life. Maybe that's no, that's really mean to tell kids. Wow, I mean,
I mean, hey,
cut
sometimes
cut
you got to
this.
say the hard truth to a child. They are just a small human. So
Cut
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think, and I think only because they are children, that's the part where I'm like, I would absolutely tell Ryan, keep the Rizzler close. And, yeah, keep the Rizzler close, and don't just focus on the head.
yeah, I think for Kate, it would be the message would be, you are not a team of one. Like you are a team. Like you are part of a team. Like keep be more of a team player. And for I don't know if I have anything for Everly. I mean, keep going. Keep I think it wouldn't be a warning. It would be a keep being kind.
Yeah.
Because that's
Keep heart.
keep
Yeah.
heart.
I'll briefly be very serious, and say something I would actually tell the people. I would tell Joey to, he is strong and he doesn't have to prove it, and to put his strength to where it would be more useful than trying to prove something. And I'd tell Alistair, that the pain that he feels isn't something that has to make him lonely.
Yeah. All right. One final question here, our wrap-up question. If we revisited these characters or this setting in a future game or one shot, what would y'all really like to see next? What would you really want to explore that you felt like we didn't get to in this season?
I see. Well, especially for Alistair and Everly, they were on the precipice of the monkey bars. So I like I want to I that's the thing. You said it earlier, Bastion, like we didn't get to explore the dynamic of the fort and what a teenager looks like. Like what does that mean? So like I'm so curious about, is the fort having the same problem that the playground was having? Like is there like is it being overrun? Is there too much? Or like how do you transition, and what does this life look like for these kids whose lives were ruined as children? Like, do they ever get to go home? Is there going home? Like, is that even going home? Like, or do they just make this whole new world and this is their life now forever? So yeah, I would be very curious about that transition from the playground to the fort, for sure.
Yeah.
I would also be very curious about that. And I was just thinking, like, seeing if I continue with the same character, I think Alistair would probably be like trying to figure out how can we help the kids from the fort, you know, and say like, what is that? Anyone ever tried that? Is this like just we have to? Why are we separated? Like, why are we separated? I feel like there's more strengths in numbers, so why would we not just try and like bring everyone together, figure out what's going on? Or is the monkey bars just actually going back to the real world? You know, I've always thought about that. That was a theory I had, canon event. But I'd also be curious to explore more nightmares. I just want, or if the Mothman comes back.
I love a good coming of age story, so I love the idea of exploring the trip over the monkey bars and the like transition to adolescence. That's a very interesting thing about, because I have done kind of my own like mini series, right, with Best Last Summer that focuses on sort of the transition to like more of adulthood, right, in terms of at least emotional maturity. And it would be interesting. Like I always loved these, but the idea of the like the Sandlot more age gap, right? Or the Stand By Me, right? That like true like childhood to now girls, now college, now priorities that are other than, you know, meet out at the. We always used to sit at the they had those like powered like the light stop boxes or the like generator boxes, big breakers at the park for all the big overhead lights. That's where we always meet.
Mm-hmm. The generator by the park, it was the same for me.
Yeah.
It had big signs saying "Do not sit
Do
on
not
this."
sit on.
And
do not
everybody
touch,
always sat on it.
Everybody always did.
Yeah.
And it was constantly freshly painted because everybody was always putting stickers and tagging. And like,
You can't tell us what to do.
That generator box is the fort, actually. That's
awful.
That's what sucked. That's what sucked Ryan in via the vape smoke.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining and reminiscing a bit on this story. And who knows? Maybe we'll see these characters again. I had an absolute blast playing with y'all, recording this, editing this, all the planning that went into it. Literally years of world building to get to this point. And I'm glad that I could celebrate it with y'all and this incredible team to make an incredible story under really aggressive time constraints, honestly. Testament to y'all. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And thank you to our wonderful, handsome, and or beautiful viewers for being along this journey with us. You are all an absolute treasure. We could not exist without you here to watch us. So please do continue to. If you're not already, get in the Discord.
Please.
That's where it's at. That's where it's happening. Yeah?
Yeah.
Real quick pitch. Next week, Mythos of War, Journey Through the Pyrenees. Come see... Oh, no, sorry. Next week is actually see me and Eli in... there's too much going on in Streaming Rainbow right now.
There's too much.
Come see me and Eli in...
The 4th chapter.
The 4th installment of our flagship programming, Hallie's Children. And as you watch this, we will be crit award nominations are wrapping up. Please take a look at our for your considerations. All this stuff we are trying to, and I think we are successfully stepping up some of our production stuff, some of our ad stuff, and reaching out in that way. Cost resources, a lot of the software we use, obviously, all that stuff kind of costs money, and so. All those likes and buttons and comments really help. So please,
Absolutely.
Yep.
improve our click-through rate, watch retention, all that stuff that Bastion talks about, and I pretend to understand.
And join us not this Friday, but the next Friday for the 2nd installment of Canto 2 of Inferno with our amazing new cast of players. We just had our first session last Friday, so go back to the VOD and watch that. Truly, it's everyone entering. They have to go into the boatman, and they have to enter into. They have to convince a man to get on the boatman. They have to convince the man to get across the water and then get into limbo. So it's going to be truly a wild Kanto. So yeah, come back for go back to the VOD for Kanto 2 and 1, but then catch the 2nd session next Friday. So. We love you guys. Definitely come join the Discord and hang out with us.
Yeah.
And big thanks to Mads again for coming back to another session.
Mads.
More Mads.
More Mads. More trauma.
I'm happy.
You're gonna play with me soon.
Yeah.
Love high reaction players.
Yeah, he does. It feeds him.
I mean, you can, I'll bake some more reactions for you. They're coming right up.
Next time you have to agree to breathe like the Rizzler. Well,
they're so tasty.
That is the drawback.
That is the drawback. That is what had to get cut because that was Eli's X card right there. Just that noise.
Yep.
Amazing. Get out of here. We love you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.